Erie, Pennsylvania, a region known for its natural beauty. In the summer, days are spent at Presque Isle or at festivals celebrating cultural diversity. And Erie is known for its love of music. And when winter arrives, it can be an unpredictable beauty. This is when we get to work. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Winter 2021. Staying safe this season. I'm outside here on the weather deck because we are socially distancing, and you're going to see that throughout tonight's show. The weather deck is very famous. A lot of folks like it. Let me show you around a little bit. It's very spacious, of course, out here, and a lot of folks want to know if we're protected from the elements, and we certainly are with the tent above us. We also have a lot of lighting out here, too. There's a TV, a monitor in the back where we can see our graphics, and of course, here's that big camera that shoots us while we're out on the weather deck with the big lights. So that's a look at what we deal with outside, and we have been dealing with COVID, no doubt, all year long. That's been the big headline. But take away COVID, and weather has been high in the headlines too for the season, so much so that we had wildfires in Australia to the west coast of the United States, also a strong African dust layer that tracked from the Sahara Desert to the shores of Florida and Alabama, and we had an above average hurricane season that actually started a month earlier, where a record-breaking 13 storms made landfall in the continental United States. That's crazy. And here in Erie, we've had a number of records too. We're going to talk about that within the next 30 minutes. David will take a look at how La Nina will impact our weather picture. Brissa Bradfield brings us information on how to stay safe indoors. Haley Potter takes us outdoors to tell us what we can do and how we can stay safe. And you'll meet the newest member of our First Warning Weather team, Sarah Tonks. And of course, we'll get to our snow predictions. I know a lot of you look forward to that. But first, let's see what made Erie weather special in 2020. Erie weather 2020, like any other year, had its highs and its lows. So let's start with the highs. Record high temperatures were recorded starting in January on the 11th, where the mercury hit 71 degrees. In May, we were just short of an official heat wave, but the 24th, 26th, and 27th went into the record books with highs of 86, 90, and 87 degrees. In October, Erie hit 83 degrees a week before Halloween, and who can forget the start of November, where a string of 8 unprecedented days in a row of 70 degrees yielded 2 record highs of 79 on back-to-back days. Surprisingly, 2 record lows for the year came in May, 31 degrees on the 9th and 30 degrees on the 13th. In March, while many people were working from home, like me, we recorded our 8th warmest March on record with an average temperature of 42.8 degrees. July came in at 76.5 degrees, making it the second warmest on record, and November was also the second warmest at 49.3. As for the seasons, summer 2020 tied 2018 for the third warmest, while fall 2020 was the 7th warmest on record. Last March tied 1943 with the least amount of snow, just a trace, and October was the 7th wettest, with nearly 7.5 inches of rain. And by the way, May 2020 was tied for 6th all-time for the most amount of snow in the month of May. Now let's take a look at what the National Weather Service says winter 2021 will be like. Here is First Warning Weather's meteorologist, Sarah Tonks, with more.
With near-record temperatures in November, it's hard not to think that winter may be mild again. The National Weather Service released its winter weather outlook in November. Mike Halpert from NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, where they create the winter outlook, says there's a good chance that we'll have a warm winter this season.
The outlook for western PA and New York is a slight tilt in the odds towards an above-average temperature-wise winter.
If you remember last winter, temperatures were very mild and the lake never froze. Could that happen again this winter?
I wouldn't expect another repeat of that winter. Again, favoring above normal temperatures doesn't necessarily mean we're favoring extremes in temperatures. The lakes can certainly freeze over in a warmer winter.
And everyone wants to know how much snow we'll get. Mike Halpert says that NOAA doesn't forecast snow in their winter outlook, but they instead forecast how much precipitation we'll see as a whole.
It's as likely to be a wet winter as it is to be a dry winter. Before you ask about snow, it's something that we don't issue at this point. We've looked into snow forecasts, but they're even harder to issue than temperature and precipitation outlooks.
Last winter, Erie International Airport recorded 67.6 inches of snow, well below normal. John David and I have crunched the numbers for this winter, so stay tuned for our snowfall outlook in just a few minutes. For winter 2021, I'm Sarah Tonks.
Thanks, Sarah, and we'll learn more about Sarah later in the show, but coming up next, it's David Walter in the local winter outlook. Will it be another mild winter, or could there be a big storm on the way? Also, Haley Potter heads outside to show us how restrictions could affect your outdoor activities this winter. But first, here's a fun fact. To work. Welcome back to Winter 2021, staying safe this season. Of course, it is wintertime in Erie, Pennsylvania, and there are two camps. One that wants a gigantic snowstorm, and there's others who kind of like it the way it has been the last couple of years. First Warning Weather's David Walter takes a look at Erie's winter weather outlook.
Forecasting the weather just a few days ahead, that's tough enough, but trying to forecast the weather a few months ahead, that's nearly impossible. But as meteorologists, we look at global patterns to get an idea of what could happen next.
We have all likely heard the terms El Nino and La Nina. They are part of what is called the El Nino Southern Oscillation Cycle, or ENSO for short. El Nino is the warm phase of the cycle, while La Nina refers to the cold phase. The cold and warm phases are dependent on ocean temperatures in the eastern Pacific, more specifically off the northwestern coast of South America. Each phase allows for certain weather patterns to be more common. This winter is likely to be a La Nina, a phase which allows for a more active jet stream causing more Arctic air to shift south. Out of curiosity, I looked back at previous La Nina winters to determine any sort of snowfall correlation. I quickly discovered that snow totals were all over the place. Looking back since 1950, there have been 3 seasons with above normal snowfall and 6 that were well below normal. The unique nature of lake effect snow causes it to be very localized, so even if the season snow total at the Erie Airport is lower than normal, that of course does not always represent the region as a whole, especially since inland locations can average a lot more. The winter prediction from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is based purely on the probability that temperatures and precipitation will be above or below the climatological norm. The temperature prediction keeps parts of the northern plains colder than normal, with areas down south likely much warmer than normal. Much of the south is also expected to be drier than normal, with wetter conditions expected around the Great Lakes and the northern U.S. According to the outlook, northwestern Pennsylvania can expect temperatures that are seasonable or slightly warmer than normal. Precipitation will likely be a little higher than normal. Precipitation refers to rain, snow, sleet, or freezing rain. For us, this could mean higher than normal snowfall for the season, but stay tuned, our snow predictions are coming at the end of the show. Cabin fever can be a real thing for some, especially this year. Here is Erie News Now's Haley Potter on how outdoor activities could be a little different this season.
Thanks, David. I don't know about you, but when I think about outdoor winter fun, I think about skiing and snowboarding, an activity that's also looking different this year. I took a trip to Mount Pleasant to see how we could still have some fun on the slopes.
And we're excited to get out, space out on the hill, and hopefully return a little bit of normalcy to everybody's lives.
Masks are mandatory, but most people ski with a mask anyway. They will have limited lodge space, a take-and-go food menu, and they also added an outdoor dining area and ticket booth to avoid the indoors. They may have to limit the amount of people on their 40 skiable acres, but season pass holders will never be turned away. Tubing will now be reserved in 2-hour blocks.
It is going to limit the amount of tubers, but it's going to give everybody who's tubing more rides to tube.
And over at Peak and Peak, they have similar restrictions, all while their snowmaking is in full blast for their 26 trails. All rented equipment will go through a deep clean between each customer. Sometimes meeting strangers on the ski lift is the highlight of the day, but not this year because you can only ride the ski lift with groups of people you came with, making for not as many funny stories, but a lot more safety.
Everything outside is pretty well socially distant and really plays well with the COVID guidelines.
Winter fun doesn't always involve snow sports or mountains. For people looking for an old-fashioned tradition, May Farms offers carriage rides all throughout the winter. This activity isn't as common, but it's a safe winter activity, being that it's outside and never having mixed groups.
Everybody's gone before I take another group.
John May took me for a ride to show me what the carriage and sleigh rides are like. Best described as the Hallmark movie I never got to be in. They do a lot of weddings, fairs, and they even come to your own neighborhood for a good old-fashioned horse and carriage ride for about $50.
For at least a half an hour, sometimes up to an hour. The look on people's faces and the kids looking at the big horses we have, it's not so much money, it's just sort of bringing back the old-time tradition.
But if that tradition isn't your cup of tea, maybe shredding some ice on the rink is. Ice skating is another one of those family fun favorites in the winter, and COVID-19 is changing the way people skate. Masks are mandatory, concession stands are closed, and space is limited. But that hasn't stopped locals from hitting the ice.
Gives the families the opportunity to spend time together out on the ice, and you're indoors out of the weather.
It's an indoor activity with an outdoor feel, but not everyone wants to feel like they're outdoors. There is an indoor activity, Stumpy's Hatchet House, that has hatchet throwing.
If you're not a fan of the snow, it's a little different than anything else in Erie. So basically, you can bring your family here, you can bring your friends here. It's socially distanced.
Every group has their own throwing pit, and you bring your own food and drink, while of course wearing a mask.
You get to plan it the way you want to, you get to bring what you want to.
You can throw for 1 hour for $25 or 2 hours for $40. A perfect shot and score for a day or night out in the cozy indoors. As long as you're safe about it, there are fun things to do in the winter, even during a pandemic. For winter 2021, staying safe this season, I'm Haley Potter.
Up next, Dr. Becky Dawson speaks with our own Brissa Bradfield about ways to stay safe while many of us will be spending more time indoors this winter. Mike Ruzzi gives us important information on how to see a doctor if you get sick this season. And later, you will meet me. I'm the newest member of the First Warning Weather Team, and John David and I will have our snow predictions for winter 2021. But first, here is a fun fact.
Welcome back to Winter 2021, staying safe this season. Now here's Brissa Bradfield with important information on staying safe.
All right, thanks, John. Well, I am joined now by Dr. Becky Dawson, a local epidemiologist and an Erie News Now contributor. Just starting it off, Dr. Becky, with flu season and the common cold and also COVID, what would you say is the biggest difference between the three and some different symptoms that people should be aware about?
So really, I think that it's going to be really challenging to see the differences based just on your symptoms. Obviously, if you lose your sense of taste or smell really fast, not because of a stuffy nose or anything, but kind of very quickly, that's going to be a sign that you have COVID. But really, the diseases are pretty indistinguishable, but like just based on symptoms, and you are going to need a test to determine what you actually have. And it's really important to know that you could have all three at once, you could have two of the three, or you could just have one of the three.
And then another question now regarding holiday season. It's gift-giving season, and that's a big part about the holidays. Should people be concerned when gift-giving or receiving a gift?
So I don't think we need to be concerned about the tangibles, right? Passing a gift to someone, leaving something at a front door, sending Christmas cards, New Year's greetings, those sorts of things. I think what we need to be concerned about is the time that we would spend inside, unmasked, close to one another, actually in that gift-giving exchange, like the ritual of handing someone a gift and being there when they open it.
Heading home for the holidays, the holiday season is time you want to spend with family and friends. What advice do you have for people planning to head home for the holidays?
So I think if nothing else, you have to take the week before that you're going to travel and you need to quarantine. You need to stay home, order your groceries, don't go out, don't interact with others. You really need to prioritize at least 7 days. And you need to ask the people that you're going to visit to do the same so that you actually create a bubble and are not infecting one another.
Absolutely. So quarantine, be cautious, and no kissing strangers under the mistletoe.
That is correct. And no kissing strangers on New Year's Eve.
And while there are several measures to physically protect us this holiday season, it's also important to protect your mental health. We're hearing now from Dr. Mandy Fauble, the Director of Clinical Care Services at UPMC Western Behavioral Health at Safe Harbor, who has 3 tips to help you cope, as holiday celebrations will most definitely look different this year. Number 1, establish a routine.
Humans do best when we have routines, whether it's our bedtime or wake time. So anytime you are feeling stressed in any way, stick to the best routines that you have.
Tip number 2, practice resilience. Do more of what you love. Reduce those little stressors in your life. And lastly,
just be gentle and take perspective. Remember that you are probably having a very normal response to this abnormal type of year that we're having.
For winter of 2021, staying safe this holiday season, I'm Brissa Bradfield. Now here's our own Mike Ruzzi with more ways on staying healthy.
Thanks, Brissa. At times over the last 10 months, local hospitals have been overwhelmed, but patients do have options, like setting up a virtual appointment.
The key findings from the study show patients not only highly rated their experience, but the majority would recommend them to family and friends. Patients also valued the reduced travel time and did not feel there was a loss of communication.
The telemedicine has provided an opportunity for us to care for the community without having to have the community all come together into smaller care spaces like offices.
At UPMC Hammett, physicians provide real-time consultations in more than 15 clinical specialties.
We can actually see and evaluate patients with a video screen just like this. Oftentimes there might be another provider, advanced practice provider, for instance, who will be there with the video screen and walking through the examination while the physician is watching, or another advanced practice provider specialist is watching.
Virtual visits are no longer just a trend, but a shift toward making healthcare more convenient. According to analysts at Forrester Research, virtual healthcare interactions are on pace to top 1 billion by the end of this year.
Some things have to happen in person, and we know that, but this allows us to have a little bit better staffing.
For Winter 2021 Safe This Season, I'm Mike Ruzzi.
Up next, we meet Sarah Tonks, our newest member of the First Warning Weather Team, and find out why Erie is already a special place to her. Also, the infamous snow predictions are up next. Will a simple shovel be enough this winter, or will we get hammered? That next on Winter 2021, staying safe this season. But first, here's a fun fact.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Winter 2020, staying safe this season. And of course, you've heard her voice all the way through this show. Sarah Tonks joins us, our first warning weather meteorologist, making her basically Erie debut recently. Sarah, welcome to Erie. Are you happy to be here?
I'm incredibly happy to be here. It's very exciting.
Yeah, now you were in Georgia. Tell us a little bit about that yourself.
Born and raised in Athens, Georgia, so go Dogs, that's for home of UGA. And then I went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta for my undergrad and master's degrees in Earth and Atmospheric Sciences, so go Jackets.
You're very supportive of your schools, of course. So you're coming to Erie. A lot of folks want to know the Erie winters. Are you ready for it? Are you looking forward to it?
Looking forward to it, yes. Ready for it? I think so. Odds are I'm not, though, because the most snow I've ever seen is probably about 4 inches. And in Georgia, that's enough to completely cripple the town. So,
yeah, that's less than a dusting for us here. You came from Georgia with a friend. Tell us a little bit about him.
I did. I came with my dog, Brody. He is the light of my life. He's absolutely fabulous. I rescued him a couple months ago during the pandemic, and he is a Husky Collie mix, and I absolutely adore him. He's happy all the time, sometimes too much, but he's great.
And you do have a connection from Erie, even though you are a native of Georgia. Tell us very quickly about your connection, your family connection to Erie.
Well, I grew up hearing about Erie because my grandparents actually met and fell in love here. My grandmother went to Mercyhurst, my grandfather went to Gannon University, and they met And then the rest is history, and they had my mom.
They had your mom, and then you're here as well.
And then me.
And then you. All right. Thank you, Sarah. We're looking forward to seeing more of you, of course, on Erie News Now, weekend mornings and nighttime. Sarah's going to be great, and I can't wait for her to experience her first Erie winter. Speaking of snow, here's what Sarah actually made me. She literally made me this snowball, and it's fantastic. And speaking of snow, we are going to talk about snow predictions, and we filed these predictions for you just a day or so ago.
My snow prediction for this year, I'm actually going a little below normal, and here's why. In the past, I've guessed over 100 inches of snow. The last 2 years I've done that, and I failed miserably. And also, based on how La Nina winters normally set up, most of them, at least from the data that I was looking at, most of them are actually below normal. So based on just really how the winter has been so far, I'm going to go with 78 inches of snow for 2020-2021.
Okay, so I'm going to make my snow prediction for winter 2020. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit below average, but I'm hoping for a little bit of something special with snow this year, just because it's my first winter up here in Erie. So I'm going to go with 92 inches. 9 and 2 add up to my favorite number 11, so I'm feeling 92, below average, but still generous enough to have some pretty good events.
All right, we're having some fun here with your snow predictions. I'm going to go with a mild winter last couple years. After that big storm, 2017, we got La Nina, which means temperatures at or lightly above average, possibly a little bit more precipitation. With that, I'm going to go with 83. Johnny Lama agrees, by the way. I think that we're going to see one big storm out of this, but nonetheless, I don't think we're going to get close to our average of 100 inches or so. That is our show this year, winter 2021, staying safe this season. Hopefully you got some good information to know how to stay safe this season, and let's hope that your shovels are ready and your snow blowers are fully gassed. Have a good night.